What can we learn from Barbie's $150 million marketing campaign? The answer is a lot, and we saw the success in the box office. Nobody was expecting this, including Warner Brothers, who estimated about $75 million in box office sales, and all Barbie went on to do is get $162 million domestically in that opening weekend, over $350 million globally. This is the biggest North American opening for a movie directed by a woman, the biggest debut for a comedic film ever. And those of you that say, hey, when you spend a lot of money, you're going to make a lot of money, I'll just remind you, no, I don't want to shade Pete Davidson, but Marmaduke, they spent $50 million on that budget. It made $800,000 in the box office and 0% on tomato meter. So it does not matter how much you spend. It's how effective you market. And of course, it helps if you have the brand recognition of Barbie. So I bring in our amazing technical producer, Katie O, to kick things off. We're going to dive deep here, Katie, to find out what they did really, really well and how they were able to leverage the Barbie franchise and really create one of the most impressive marketing campaigns really ever in the history of box office openings.
I agree. What an impressive campaign this was to watch, especially from a marketing standpoint. I want to start out with this quote. This is from Matt Bellany, host of The Town with Matt Bellany, when he was talking about selling Barbie and this massive marketing campaign. All of the social media activity, some of it paid for, a lot of it earned, all in a really interesting campaign. A case study for how movies, when properly marketed, can still catch the zeitgeist like nothing else in culture.
I love it. And we're going to dig into some of the verticals here that they did so very well. And the first one that just flooded all of our social feeds was the Barbie self-worth generator. There's been a lot of these over the years. Remember the Straight Outta Compton meme generator that we all kind of play with years and years ago? But anytime you can create content where your fans and ambassadors can get on top of this, but also it became so much part of pop culture. It became such a trending element of what was happening online that I would say the majority of Fortune 100 brands got on top of this as well.
Yeah, according to Tech Times, this was shared more than 13 million times outside of all those pop culture references that it made. I mean, this is really, coming from this Barbie is a producer, this is really a great way if you build a simple tool. This was really just a photo upload on a microsite. If you build something simple and you have the fan engagement at the ready, you can create something that takes over culture. And I want to share just a quick quote. This is from Josh Goldstein, who is on the podcast. He said something like this doesn't take off unless you've already generated the desire and the engagement and the curiosity to actually want to be a part of something. And I think that speaks to how well Barbie made you want to be a part of this.
Well, what's so impressive about this entire campaign, not just this social specific campaign, but the rollout plan. And in order to get really momentum on these or get a snowball effect or domino effect, you got to start with some key influencers. You got to allow the actors and actresses to share this and have some of those top brands share that meme generator, if you will, or that, that Barbie generator. And then people just start to pick up on it. So I love what they did. That's one single element of this entire $150 million marketing campaign. But when they released it, they had a plan of attack. I think any brand can make a generator like that, but it's a matter of what's the game plan in the first day that generator is open and how to get the masses knowing that it's out there for use.
Yeah, I think they start small, end with a big bang, especially this next one we're going to look at. It was so useful to see how just releasing a picture at first, then letting you be a part of the picture, then building the world out and bringing the world to fans. Yeah,
so this next one that was so impressive, the partnership with Airbnb, really creating a life-size Barbie's dream house, which, I mean, these pictures, again, just kind of went viral on their own. Once they were able to release this to the public, I mean, there was an Airbnb site that you can look at and get some, intimate photos of the inside and things like that. But this was another brilliant concept to bring this movie to life.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of brands aren't going to have that $150 million marketing budget to build a Barbie dream house. But the thing that I love about activations is you can bring a little piece of the brand or the world right to people to be a part of.
Yep.
And you can fill it with Easter eggs. This mansion was not just Barbie's dream house. This was Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa house, full of little Easter eggs where if you weren't able to get a reservation opening weekend, you can still explore the house, find these things and continue the conversation, getting excited for what may or may not be in the movie.
Yeah, so I think, there's so many brands that we work with too, Katie, that there's an opportunity for an activation. How you tie your brand, whether it's a TV show, whether it's an apparel or a CPG brand that's launching, how are you able to create things at a home in real life, the stunts, the activations? I think if you're looking at a 360 approach, stunts and those activations are always such an important part to get the word out. Another thing was, what they did with Xbox, and they, we'll talk about this more, but they had so many key partnerships. We just talked about Airbnb, Xbox. I know even what's coming in the future is a Nike pink Barbie release for a Nike Dunk, but they made so many key partnerships with so many brands that have such a following that it was able to just increase this awareness.
Yeah, and what I loved about their cross promotion with Xbox is it wasn't just one piece of content that they sort of shared. They really built things for each of the brands. And I know that each of the brand also really leans into inclusivity with their audiences. So being able to cross promote their brand identity within each other was really important. Taking a start with the custom Barbie Xbox console in its own dream house. We also moved to Barbie and Ken's cars that are now available in Forza Horizon 5.
Love it.
And a whole line of gamer Barbies in the very first Xbox clothing collection. I just thought they each had their own piece, and then they had the collaboration piece that really tied it all together.
And I think what Mattel understood is, hey, we have this movie, we have this ability to create a franchise for future movies, but more importantly, we can really use this as a catalyst to up level the Mattel brand overall. Shares of Mattel are up 19% since the movie release. So all this marketing, not only is it getting you to go to the theater, but it's making you potentially buy more Barbies for your daughter. It's making you buy some of these Xbox and these partnerships. So that's what's so important is these licensing, and we're going to get into that more in a little bit too, but these licensing partnerships also generate revenue. And that's why, Wall Street is liking all this money they spend on marketing as well. The one we saw, and I think you even came across this, Katie, organically, but on the day of opening weekend, Barbie took over Google, and this was so cool as you were looking for showtimes, if you were searching the actors or actresses, anything kind of involving the movie, Barbie showed up in some sparkles here.
I love this. A little surprise and delight is such a fun way to engage with fans. Obviously, again, maybe you don't have the money to take over Google, but your audience is going to be going onto websites, whether that's a sports team, going to ESPN, even putting your skins on the back of the website or building its own microsite. This was just so fun that if you typed in Barbie or Greta Gerwig or the talent, Google would literally sparkle and turn pink. And how fun.
To give marketers kind of a sense, something like Google, obviously the number one website on the planet, it costs about 6 figures to do this. However, I just felt like, Katie, they didn't leave any stone left unturned. Like when you have the selfie generator, Airbnb, and the double-decker in Italy, and all these different things, this was a global campaign, but Google, they knew people were going to be Googling showtimes, and they had to show up where folks were going to be. And it just, that's what's so impressive about it is I felt like the 360 marketing approach, every vertical was really well thought out.
100%. And it's so clear that they had a really big creative team put their heads together and really tackle this from all angles. And I think when you look at how Barbie in its own right is everybody, and Barbie can be anything. And they really touched on every single person who may or may not be interested in Barbie had an avenue to finding Barbie within their own marketing for whatever their algorithm is, wherever they go, wherever they shop.
And I think when you think about upper funnel marketing, when the top of that funnel, of course, is awareness, and then it's consideration and conversion. But the consideration part could be going to watch the movie, could be, looking at the holiday season, buying some of this merchandise for your child or for yourself or whatever it may be. So again, just so impressive how they were able to create this awareness for so many different offshoots, not just the movie, and it still had that box office success. And then, I saw this all across the internet as well. There was the natural PR and the interviews and the different, media companies that were obviously covering the release of this movie. But you made a great point that they did some really cool things with talent, but also what we can learn when you don't have talent, how you can still do some fun things.
Yeah, this is a specific place where we get to work a lot in production. So for looking at how to create paid content with talent, they had some really fun ways to bring the world of Barbie with the cast in all these interviews. Like GQ did their Essentials video series with Ryan Gosling, but he did it as Ken, another way to get people interested in who Ken is. But also Time did an interview with the cast of Barbie where they had all of these Barbies and all of this clothing laid out, and they basically asked them to dress them for different Time events. And not only is that so nostalgic, just having just like this mess of clothing in front of you, it like made it really fun to watch them play. But even if you don't have talent, there are so many experts across industries that really care about brands that you can tap into to really create unique pieces of content. Keep building out your world, too.
I think I found myself, Katie, watching a 20-minute documentary on the groundskeeper for the Super Bowl and how he makes sure the turf is in perfect condition prior to the biggest game in sports, potentially on an annual basis. But that was interesting to me. The behind the scenes, peel back the curtain, tell me a story. And again, the groundskeeper is not getting hounded for press interviews. So those guys are a lot easier to get. But whatever your campaign may be, especially when it comes, I know I interviewed Patagonia on our podcast, and they talked about there's always a story within the product, how you go out and get the material, how the material is sourced, how that is fabricated inside your workshops. There's always a story to any product out there. And, obviously Barbie did this best in class.
Yeah, I mean, Architectural Digest did this expert who broke down the evolution of the Barbie dream house. Insider did an interview with Carol Spencer, who was one of Barbie's fashion designers for about 40 years. And I just want brands to know, big or small, people care about you, people work for you, and that is talent. And those are stories and narratives that can be so influential and relatable and really connect with audiences.
The licensing was imperative, in my opinion. This is where I think a lot of brands get mixed up. They're so fearful that their licensing will be not used properly or it's going to hurt brand reputation. But I think Barbie, in this instance, they found authentic partnerships and licensing that obviously made sense. But also, I just don't think they came into this with a fear-based mindset. I think they came into it with an opportunity mindset. And I mean, so many licensing from, Pinkberry, Aldo. I mean, Katie, you can break it down, but so many impressive licensing that they did here, which again, I don't know if enough brands think about how the power of licensing, especially in a limited time frame.
Yeah, I think a really great takeaway from how Barbie licensed was, the Impala neon yellow and pink skates that Barbie and Ken wear in the movie are available through Impala. But also, Barbie took advantage of this themselves, or Mattel took advantage of this. The day the movie launched, there was a number of items of clothing that were within the movie that you can go online and buy.
Smart.
And they immediately sold out. I mean, they really let the licensing come to them. And I think this is another example of if you have curiosity and you have engagement and people are interested to work with you, it is a really great opportunity to create a lot of small billboards that one person can tell another person how great something is.
Well, it's funny because I think this is the future of media. I think product placement is going to become such more of how you're able to move product, and the traditional 15-second or 30-second advertisement that you used to watch during an episode of Seinfeld. This next generation, they're just not interested in like those hit me over the head with the CTA or ads. Speaking of Seinfeld, do you remember the Tic Tac episode? Or the Pez dispenser episode, those are all strategic. I'm sure, stock went up after those episodes, but anything product placement that seems more authentic is so much better than a commercial before the movie runs at your local AMC.
Oh yeah, I mean, if we're talking about product placement, the original product placement was Reese's Pieces or Reese's in E.T. And
yeah, absolutely.
I think people if you create a world that is engaging, people want to be a part of it. And you can really leverage that into your licensing part of your campaign.
Finally, let's break this quote from the president of worldwide marketing at Warner Brothers, who, may deserve a raise here potentially after this success.
Yeah, this was a really, really interesting way, I think, to sum up everything that happened. He said, when you have discovery and when you have curiosity, you can have a level of engagement that can defy expectations in a digitally connected world.
Yeah, and the reason we wanted to really break this down is, again, I think people just automatically assume it's Barbie. everybody knows Barbie. They spent a bunch of money. Of course, it was successful. But we know throughout history that is not necessarily the case. There's been so many movies out there that have relied on, a brand like a Barbie that has completely flopped in the box office. And also people that have spent a lot of money on marketing and it just didn't hit or resonate the way this did. So again, as a marketer, we were all here internally at STN so impressed. But, Katie, I'd like to get your takeaways overall, but here are my 4 key takeaways, and I'll see if you agree and want to add any on top of it. Number 1 is the 360 distribution. I think when it came to the stunts, the out-of-home, the activation, the social, the Google, like we said earlier, I feel like no stone was left unturned, and that's why it was so successful, because it went to the audience where they were at, and it was impossible to get away from it, especially like in those 60 days leading up to the release. Number 2 is the power of licensing. Again, I think so many brands get scared to license out their brands and their colors and their logos to other people. But it felt like to me, and I could be wrong here, there could be a 90-page guideline of what you can and cannot do. But it felt like Barbie kind of leaned on, hey, what's the worst that can happen, more so than being so close to the vest. Number 3 is a surprise and delight. Things like the Barbie Dream House, obviously having Ryan Gosling kind of answer questions as Ken. Things like that are just, I think, the things that go viral or people end up sharing organically anyway. And then number 4, owned and operated. When you own a company like Mattel and you're able to brand things pink and you're able to roll out different offshoots during that theatrical release, again, that's where I see a lot of folks not a lot of brands are not able to leverage their ecosystem of what they already own and operate, and they don't think of those as marketing offshoots that can deliver a lot of success. So those were the 4 key takeaways from this very successful campaign, Katie.
Yeah, I definitely had a couple. I want to start with the licensing. I think if we look at licensing as less of, I'm going to put a sticker of my brand logo on something, and more of how can we partner together, it can be really successful. Another thing that I really took away was they found a way to bring the world of Barbie into the real world.
Yep.
And not only is that honestly a theme of the movie, it was so smart for marketing. So I think anyway, when you're looking at marketing campaigns, it's not just let's push out this graphic. Be thoughtful, bring that world to your audience because they want to be a part of it. And I think lastly, this was more than just a movie that they were marketing. This was a case study in how to reinvigorate a brand that has been around for decades. Yep. This was not just a movie. This was an entire catalog.
And that's what I mean. It's like, why spend $150 million? What if it tanked in the box office? It could have tanked. It could have been something that the opening weekend, it doesn't really do well. The movie was terrible. People tell their friends not to go. But they knew, again, you saw the stock go up 19% as well. This is going to be our catalyst to make the Mattel brand go through the roof and remind everybody about the power of Barbie and how you should get back involved with the brand if you maybe were very involved as a young girl, let's say, and you're a little bit older, but now people can all resonate with it. And then you shared a stat around the office, Katie. What was don't they have in production or now since the
14 Mattel
it's a new Marvel.
Movies.
It's a new Marvel. Here it comes. So
incredible.
They knew if they can hit this out of the park that we're talking about billions and billions of dollars, and not only merchandise sales but future box office openings and profit on that end. So again, right before the actors' strike and everything went down, this was kind of the last 2 movies essentially that were marketed and still had, the Ryan Goslings and the Margot Robbie interview ability. So I think this was good for Hollywood and good for really both sides to show the success that the box office still matters. And like I said in the last show, and we've talked about it a little bit, it is also very nice when a color is so synonymous with your brand. So shout out to Barbie and shout out to their campaign. They did a hell of a job.
David, I just want to end with, I know you'd mentioned in the last podcast that it's easy to own a color to really help it take over. Yeah. Pantone did release its own Barbie color, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is 219C.
Wow, there you go.
They do have their own official Barbie pink.
So we hope you enjoyed that. We wanted to do the homework so you didn't have to. Why was this Barbie marketing campaign so successful? They spent $150 million. They got the success. What exactly did they do? We brought that to you, fine folks. And we'd love to see some comments below. What was your favorite part of the Barbie marketing campaign, and what can we all learn from it as marketers? I know everybody can at least have a takeaway there. So thanks so much, Katie, for all the hard work and detail you put into the recap of this campaign. And thanks to y'all for watching the $150 million marketing campaign.
Bye, Barbies.